Thus I have heard. At one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Bolshevik Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, Noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the Noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, "How should the son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom?" Thus he spoke, and the Noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words: "Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. Five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness. They have no characteristics, they are unborn or unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Sharaputra, since there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become truly complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, mantra of insight, unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, a mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata, Om Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One rose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, that he has spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught. The Tathagata as well as rejoice. And the Blessed One has said this, the venerable Sharadvati Putra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, rejoice and praise the words of the Blessed One.
So as usual, we'll begin with cultivating a positive thought. So our objective of being here, receiving the teachings of the Dharma, is to establishing all sentient beings to the state of happiness. From whom you are receiving teaching is imagine that you are receiving teachings from the Buddha himself, and you yourself is surrounded by all sentient beings. So this is what we need to imagine. So when we speak about the body of the Buddha, it is Songjuk, which means the embodiment of it is the body that arose from the great place in emptiness, which is not a gross form of body, but rather it is united, integrated by integration of the mere wind and mind. So if you were to think about Buddha Shakyamuni, historical Buddha Shakyamuni, in the form of supreme emanation body, then we imagine Buddha, the image of the Buddha that we normally see. So then it is when you are imagining or visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni, it is more conducive for us to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni in the form of supreme emanation body, and who actually turned the wheel of Dharma in the Saranath after the 49 days of his enlightenment. So you can also imagine, just as Buddha is giving a teachings, the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, where Buddha has given teaching to his first 5 disciples. And you can imagine that you are being in that particular presence. So if you, just as Lama Tsongkhapa stated in his prayers to dependent originations, when I reflect upon the teachings, the particular teachings that you have given at that particular time, that makes me, wonder, the unsurpassed knowledge that you have, and how you are able to, accumulate such a, immaculate knowledge. So we also have the same kind of feeling when we think about the teachings Buddha has given at that particular time. You should be able to reflect your mind upon the immaculate teachings of the Buddha. So normally when we think about the Buddha Shakyamuni, we rather, have a tendency of reflecting one's mind upon the Buddha Shakyamuni as a statue, rather than being alive and giving the teachings, who has given the teachings in Saranath and given the teachings and Bodh Gaya as well as various places in the past. So with this kind of thoughts, may become again create an obstacle for having a pure faith. So let's meditate on Buddha as usual. So it is true that if you can think very carefully, Buddha emerged in this planet Earth in the human existence at some particular time and given marvelous teachings and to numerous disciples and establish the limitless disciples to the state of enlightenment. So let's meditate for 5 minutes.
가서 드는 거 집어지는 거네. 강 쌤바셔 주네. 아니 때도 되와 그게 탑 세나에 주세나로. 주세나 줘봐서. 그래 줘봐서나. 바로 못 줘.
With this cultivation of appropriate motivations, one is receiving the teachings of the Dharma, and which is the method of achieving ultimate state of happiness or the everlasting happiness. And Dharma in general, the term Dharma connotes the transforming from negative state to positive state.
근데 저기 쭉 동보대기에는 저시만 막 샌델라로 샌델은 다 가서 근데 저기 저시만 얘네 하다미 저용 모두기 쭉 동보지 쭉 타바다 탄지 서고라 딱까지 타바터 모두가지 근데 쭉 바대기에는 탄지 좀 바터 모두기 근데 저기 쭉 아니 도슈기 저도 손으로 지로와.
So the teachings of the Dharma emphasize on the teachings of the Lamrim Chenmo is emphasized on how to overcome the faults, three kinds of faults in other words. The first is the faults of preventing oneself from taking rebirth in a high rebirth, and second is the faults of preventing oneself from achieving liberations, and then third is the faults of preventing oneself from achieving state of enlightenment. Those are the three kinds of the faults that is to be, tamed or that is to be overcome by receiving the teachings of the Dharma or through the practice. So then this is the teachings that the root of the teachings from Buddha Shakyamuni and transmitted to his disciples all the way to the one's own root guru. So therefore it is authentic teachings. So then there is the greatness of the Dharma given to increase faith in one's instructions. And the right way to teach and listen to the Dharma is with the appropriate motivations, positive motivations. And the fourth is the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught and actual instructions. So then the root of path is to relying upon the teachers and having relied upon the teachers and how to train one's own mind.
다되는 동네 주 상바들이라 제 상바, 주 상바, 송 상바지. 다되는 나중에 동네 주 상바 세대면 되는데. 나도 다들 두대 쿠이 이미 상바 세대되더라.
So we are at this chapter that we have reached on the chapter of reflection on the sufferings. The reflection on the suffering, reflection on the 8 types of suffering, on the 6 types of suffering. So this particular chapter that we are going through right now is the 6 types of reflection on the 6 types of sufferings.
그 가능해 주세요. 그는 동해 님이 권에 해봐서 선제인 동해 시바자 기주 방원셔서 내가 대대어로 동해 시바셔서 동해 님이 권에 시바자 네 기주 주의권에 방원셔서.
So it is very important to understand that why Buddha has actually taught the sufferings need to understand, suffering needs to be identified. So what he meant by suffering needs to be identified is suffering needs to be identified by through reflection upon the faults of the sufferings, and then having reflected upon the suffering with its fault, then one can exert an effort to eliminate the cause of the suffering.
하나 가르쳐서는 아주 동해 대화제 들어와. 동해 대화제도 사제지 동해 가시 사제 동해 가시 내가 아주 대화제 들어와.
So the problem with that is we conceive or we perceive this suffering as a happiness. Our way of perceiving the suffering as a happiness is something that is an erroneous way of looking at phenomena.
그생에 동해 대바시 치수기 대바시 이렇게 제대 아니 소수조는 이제 동해 대바시 밥에 동해이랑 시대 대바시 나와요마도 아주 지단 근로된 대바이 대바시 계제대 말해서 이봐.
So why it is called the truth of suffering? Because the truth of suffering is here. The truth here refers to the suffering. The truth is this kind of situation is a true suffering that is recognized by the Arya beings. But for the ordinary beings, we cannot recognize those suffering, the truth of the suffering. Rather, we see the suffering as a happiness.
당연히 용도를 제가 나치지 동해도 동해라고 짓는 건지 제거를 맞도록 텔레 지엠바 이제 되게 노쇼 뭐 차가 동해 가서 다니 제거 매와.
So for us, when we speak about sufferings, our understanding of suffering is basically understanding of the 4 types of suffering. That's birth, aging, sickness, death, and so forth. Those are the suffering that we identify, we commonly identify as ordinary beings. But other than that, it is not easy for us to recognize all the various types of sufferings.
아마도 가서 동해 주선을 가도는 동해 주노기 맞추기 가르쳐요래 동해 가서 지도 노쇼 멤버를 이대진 매발아 가서 이대 tempo 쉬우진데는 다시 tempo 쉬우지로 이제는 되더라. 주선 비고서라 아니 녀바 미비 녀바 생데 이대 미비 녀바.
The fault of because we looked at our mundane situation as something that is so stable. So in other words, it is unstable, but we look at it as a very stable. So then it's also something that cannot be satisfied. The more you indulge in such the mundane actions, the more desire that you have to engage in such. So in other words, there is no satisfaction. You will not gain any satisfaction out of the mundane actions.
세월에 손받아. somebody 신도 줘서 배지 상담을 제 손받아 상모 손도와 대대로 다가라니 네 맞대서 봐. 지방이 지대 가슴에 침대도 제라고 해서 전화오는 거 의도 주면 돼. 제냥이 가서 냥이 세월에 손받아 somebody 신도 좋아 주의 항상 양당양도 년와나 아니 사주고 강통바라서 장세는 철라양 대이체다 여반이에서 쳐다 파던 저반은 매장사와 강수바 리제고 행보이 세례 신도 라바 저런 자시 러트 제와이 쿠이네스 강노 미기 가사레 미기 치미 티바이 너도 장소 로마이 펜시 다도 주바이 고지바 강이바 봉바 대다 토와네 선빈지 된 레장 테 선빈지 진럽 제외 가사 살이 수바 강이바 오미 장수 나한테 대이 강나 신대기 시에서바 바로 와서
So let's go through the text here. It's 238. 283. Think about this furthermore. It says, you will become very disenchanted with cycling existence if you reflect on what alleviate in sorrow. And Sagopeno Dana says, again and again in hells, you drank a boiling liquid copper, so much that even the water in the ocean does not compare. The filth you have eaten as a dog and as a pig would make up a file for more vast than Meru, the king of mountains, and on account of losing loved ones and friends, you have shed so many tears in the realm of cycling existence that the ocean could not contain them. The heads that have been served for fighting, severed from fighting one another, if filed up would reach beyond Brahma's heaven. You have been warm and having been ravenous, that you ate so much that if it were poured into the great oceans, it would fill it completely.
뒤에는 뭐가 같이 보면 좋아. 아주 간대 쳐봐 제거해서 나와이나로와. 아주 때는 제월을 통마요 말아. 제월을 통마 미리 제월을 장카진이요 말아. 장카면은 뭐보기 치러와.
So what it really tells here is our life is countless and our life is beginningless. So therefore, if the life is beginningless, then there is no way that we can count, how many lifetimes, how many life forms that we had in our past. So it is therefore all this, if you were to find up, the heads of this, and so everything that is explained here is something that is beyond our, comprehension, our thoughts.
배나놓고 배지자도 배지선 배먹도와 근데 녀와는 쟤는 상시 통과기 아니 된주기 추되기 모뉴시에서는 장소레 마와 작을해서 장소 티발레 마와 작을해서 봐 자시다 저와기 미쳤다네로 빈자다 파마다 된주 존의 미쳤다봐 아니 다 저바쇼네는 거지 봐 같이 가서보다 kuineta de no ji nyawalan robe tangkade ji sheson ne se jin yo ma so do.
So it really tells us there's no limits of how much suffering that we have undergone. Again and again in hells, you drank a boiling liquid copper so much that even the water in the ocean does not compare. So this is how much the liquid copper that we have drank in our past lives. And similarly, the heads that have been severed from the fighting one another, if filed up, would reach beyond Brahma's heaven. If you really think carefully, that is really true, because we can't really say how many times that, how many forms of life that we had in the past. It is innumerable.
그 도이 강의 소는데 시에서보다 상나는 신도 좋아한 제대 소도하러 된뒤에 님이 상나 동선나 있는 코아들이 님이 쉬우지 통과를 소도.
So the thing right from the beginning says, furthermore, if you will become a very disenchanted with this cyclic existence, if you reflect on what the elevating sorrow is, so it really tells you that we need to really deepen insight into the nature of suffering of cyclic existence, without which it is not possible at all the one to cultivate renunciations. For us, instead of cultivating disenchantment towards this cyclic existence, we are completely, soiled by all kind of thoughts, doubts, speculations about is that really true? Is this something that really corresponds to reality or not?
대단하서 동복거발에 유리나 단선. 대단한 동복거발에서 추진되지 되면 추스비 리증문제 타강 전시돼서 대례상주 용수 뒤주당 제대 뒤주제는 되고 총에서 총지 추진되지 되면 추스비 리증문제 타강 전시돼 강기 진이 예법만写信是 된지送个상제 레마도写送把大送对吧这个下去
Then it's the next, beginning from the last line of the page 283. Thus, the array of Stat Sutra states, remember that infinite body which in the past you wished senselessly on the account of desire. Now, in this life, truly seek enlightenment, take up disciplined conduct, and thereby destroy desires. Remember the infinite bodies which in the past you wasted senselessly on account of desires. As many times as there are grains of the sand in the countries, you failed to please the Buddhas and ignore their teachings such as this.
근데 지난주에는 거대고 싶어도 거대고는 지세우라. 아주 내내 통화 매반에 답답하던데 뇌에 대화지기 된다라 깔래 던지지 전에 아니 저 몽차 몽부지는 던지지 제잖아. 답답을 된다 좀 같이 종면도 와서 못 되지라다.
So just according to this particular passage, it says that right from the beginningless times up until now, you have engaged in the actions, hoping for a lasting and everlasting happiness. However, we haven't been able to accomplish the desire or the objective. So our, all of the plan that we had it didn't work for us at all.
천하게 뇌비 대화지기 세비 된다라 내가 전에 내가 되게 대화 뭐라비가나 강에 들리지 소도 왔지.
So not only that you haven't achieved the objective, which is the state of happiness, but rather it creates, the further suffering.
다처럼에 뇌지기 하만 뇌지기 되게 초라로와 예전에 다 나가 사바지 되고 그래서.
So now we have to understand that up until now that I long to achieve happiness, and in pursuit of happiness I've engaged in many kinds of actions, indulged in many kinds of actions. However, I haven't been able to accomplish my goal. So now I should reverse this. I should do something that is different than what I have done in the past.
인산에 딘뒤기 나오서 뭐든 응원에 자와이나 단답을 든들 깔래지 저는 저거 대화치야 뭐인데 오늘 제가 통치 거서다 순보 종급이 되서래다 순보 먼저가 단다 다랑 술로도 와서
So we are supposed to be really tired of this now because we have been really indulging in all sorts of actions in pursuit of our happiness, but we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to, achieve that our desired objective. So therefore, instead of we are getting sick of it, we still run after that. We still run after in pursuit of happiness, indulging in all sorts of actions through body, speech, and mind.
야 근데 강이 뭐 채셔야 깔래 좀 그거 콤비메라도 저기 좋아이나 좀 들어와. 제가 빨리 깔래 잡아 가셔라 깔래는 저 도쇼 종종의 미션도 왔어.
So we have put forth a lot of efforts and exert effort and energies in pursuit of our happiness. However, we haven't been able to accomplish happiness, but rather we are, we are completely remain under the control of suffering instead.
인간은 뭐지 약간 되게 다 제발할 때는 저번에 받은 저번에 다네 저번 때도 대화를 상주치고 그래요.
So now, what it really tells us, the passage really tells us, is to, one should be so regretful of one's past deeds that really we are unable to really achieve the happiness of, or accomplish the goal that we long to achieve. So now, from now on, I must engage in the different sort of actions of the body, speech, and mind in pursuit of not just a mundane happiness, but in pursuit of state of enlightenment.
시비 편소 진이지 타오 장스 로와당 되면비 동에 빠도 매바뇨 빠도 매바뇨네서 마다 리빠도 매바 취수 제바샤스 다동 양스 마베나 대단지비 취상나 조아제바 샤오스 상하이시네서 되게 단어를 히데비 대다되시면서.
So now the meaning, the explanation that you will find in this next paragraph below, it says, even if you gain the vast wonders of cyclic existence, they would be illusory. Bear in the mind countless bodies you have wasted in the past, experiencing limitless and pointless sufferings. Consider that it will continue this way unless you make an effort to put an end to it. Develop a sense of disenchantment, Changma was said.
근데 일단은 간절 허그리에서 나와 있는 거와 배나가서 토고사가 허그리 당년자의 허그리 주변적인 허그리로와 어서 제바시에는 뼈도 고대와 있다.
So we are prevented of achieving the state of enlightenment, the state of liberation, is because we long to, our goal is to become famous. We run after wealth, run after name, fame, and and so forth, and positions and so forth. And those are the ones that really prevents us from achieving the lasting happiness.
그래서 제바도 요래다 가능한 신도 늘어 변화로 토고사기 간절 허그리에서나 토고사가 땡땡자고 토고사 터셔야 되는 메도아. 그러와 저들로 토고사는 체면의 전유 자능이 카운트로와.
So those kind of mundane objectives are not stable at all. One may, it is due to one's own efforts. One may become a famous, or one may become a very, possessing high position in the societies in an earlier part of one's life. But you end up, becoming a homeless, in a later part of your life. So therefore, your pursuit of those happiness, and you have put a lot of efforts for that, are all senseless.
집변적인 소셜상에 칸드로 지금 가상으로 그 가차본의 시에나로 집변적인 소셜상에 거는 토고자기 소셜상에 칸드레 당연하게 소셜상에 칸드레.
So many that it is very evident to us, due to the wealth, in pursuit of wealth, many people have lost their life, and in pursuit of name and fame, and people have lost their life. This is fact.
그것은 대바 말이로 나초기 대바에서 이제도 상대기 대바 말이 전발에 동해에서 와요.
So those are all why the Buddha calls suffering. Because for us, yes, we look at those as a true happiness, and we indulge in actions in pursuit of those kind of happiness. But for the Buddhas and noble beings, have completely identified and recognized those are not beyond suffering.
대바에는 머스르지라서는 때자되고 그래. 조화 로투고 말이.
So it is not stable, so that all those mundane excellences are and subject to change.
생활이 시에서 가제 코아생데 이때 메르스비 편조세와 나기로 다시 템포 집에 매번은 쫓아나 돈에 제가 초시했잖아요. 이미 통고로 템포 매번 통고고.
So we need to look at how unstable, instability of this life of cyclic existence. And with this recognition of instability of this life of cyclic existence, then one must cultivate the disenchantment towards the cyclic life.
소소를 한 칼로도 따지자다로 소소기 체대이 되질래 이때 가르치 제거여로 가세트 땡고 입에 쳐봐 제거여로 아니래 칼로다.
If you were to turn inward and try to look at yourself from birth up until now, we indulge in all sorts of actions in pursuit of happiness. But have you really achieved by now, as we desire to, or as we long to achieve?
답란이 이제 당저질에 땡고 매번에 초바테서나 아니 되는 놈바 되는 지가 되는 지대 세지어로 되는 버제다 아니 시제는 남해지 봐도 용수 줘봐도 메테비랑 제여 봐 동해지랑 제여.
If you gain the understanding of, if you gain insight into the nature of instability of this cyclic life of one's own self, which will then eventually enables one to understand instability of the life of cyclic life of other beings, and then all sentient beings. So if you really reflect very carefully on those passage and this explanation that is given here, then you will be able to draw a conclusion, and you will be able to you will be convinced by convinced through reflection and contemplations.
네, 조사 때문에 토마 매번에 진주 리시 넘발라 다리 다리젠데 티젠지 주시바 녀에서 비고 와서 비고 말이야. 봉고 봐서 왔다서 상부의 신에서 코안데 gembu mambo 시고 번데 냥라 jem 마보 송아 따비 로나 마지지 봐도 상고시 제네 장준데 장고소 어선도.
So then we'll read through the text again. The Honorable Teacher, how many bodies have you taken from beginning this time? Now, since you never practice my inner teachings, you must apply yourself assiduously. Sangpo has said, it is cyclic existence. There are many turns of fortune, for better and for worse. Do not take your hopes on them. reflect until you give rise to this kind of thinking after you have developed it, and you must continuously sustain it in meditation.
내가로와 베나라도 지지도 집이 저와 담에 지나나 야 다지러나 얘기로와 지금 고 담에 지나다 드리기 님이게 사나지 땅 사나 땅에 아니 다른 가서 가서 봐 데려라고 이제 사나 땅소나 아니 사적이 총고를 봐 손고에 놓이 내지 총고 생이들 가래 다 투선 재산을 가게 드리지 얘기 그거지 좀 봐라 인터넷 뒤거라 배셔라고 그러지로 가서 봐나
So now, upon reflection upon all those thoughts of cyclic life, cyclic existence, and understanding the suffering nature of cyclic existence, now one must take opportunity to really to engage in the teachings, engage in the practice of the teachings of the Buddha, in pursuit of the real happiness by receiving the teachings of the Four Noble Truths as given by the Buddha, and having received the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, one must engage in the practice of the Four Noble Truths.
tanda kada milama ti sabu sene seedere ani khwa senge tala na su gyamba to bu senge jero be de jin ta juba ta me juba senge be ta ta ka je yi ne jun me nge de ri ji le so so ge nyang la ba ne ani khwa senge de chona ma che ji ba to uju ja ne ka so da ge si chona chi che so ne chona de ji de che ne jang go de yu ma sha so da.
So we can't develop a disenchantment towards sacred life until and unless you exert a lot of efforts and continuous reflection and understanding the nature of sacred life of sacred existence. So once you have developed disenchantment with regard to sacred life, then again, in order to in order to sustain this disenchantment that you have developed, and you must continuously reflect or meditate upon it.
마소기 시부 신주스케 제보 말아 마도로와 신주만에 신주 쟁이서나 지바 대자전에 대비 거드지면도.
So if we are not really paying attention to our cyclic life, because if you are really paying attention, full force attention on cyclic life, then you will see how unstable it is. And once you are able to discover the instability of this cyclic life, then you will develop a disenchantment towards the cyclic life. So then the force of casting on the bodies repeatedly, the friendly letter, each of us had left a file of bonds that would draft Mount Meru for each living beings. If the bonds discarded upon taking up new bodies did not disappear, they would tower over even Mount Meru.
수수기 때는 나도 지기 니 지지도 집이 가서 신경이 로기 리고 강가 본데 야자생이나 근데 리젤년 거는 예 근데 대로 벌써 대대 치를 또 벌써
So what it really says here is the bonds, if we were to file up all the bonds of our past life, then this can be, the size of the bonds can be the greater than Mount Meros.
ngaso eti 이미 됐다 더 그러라고 배나로와 배나 ngaso 다른 사람들 제 동호회나 ngaso 로자기 렌 로자로 그러와 로자스디 지나 돼서 통도로 디기 바로로 가시노 수주지 제년시 주세는 거제 로자기 노로 시행가스 둘이 쟁여요로 근데 사람들 동호회는 거네 돈에 통보디 로고지 봉샤와이나 대신 세대 개별수 되고 왔다.
So if we reflect carefully and looking at our own lifespan, we as a human beings, our lifespan is said to be maximum of 100, not more than that, mostly. And again here the 100 years is not a very long time. It just, in the blink of eyes, 100 years will be just gone. So then many of us, the majority of the people, do not live till 100 years, the maximum lifespan of human beings. They will die around 20s and teenagers and 30s, 40s and so forth. So if you really try to think about those lines and think about the lifespan that we have, you will then become convinced of our past life born can be greater size than Mount Meru.
다 장칼을 쌓는다고 그러와. 뭐 간데 차고 장칼을 나오고 그래. 수수 제와 통화에 말이로와. 제와 통화면 비 장칼을 통화에 장칼을 장에 말해. 제와를 장면은 통보를 장칼 내와. 통보를 장하면 배나 가서기 대리선이 다니잖아. 다 통보 체수절 랑천으로 쓰이잖아. 랑천이 제와 지고联邦的 장면 와이나 뒤르고 장면이 차송나. 아. 오늘 예 전부 수치 차고로 rendezvous 공장이나.
So think about the different kinds of life form that we have taken in our previous life, different kind of animals, and one could say, take an example of how many, that's countless times that we have taken a rebirth as an elephant in one's past life. It is countless times we have taken. So if we were to think about for the countless lifetime of the elephant, the form of elephants, if we were to file up all the spawns of those elephants, suddenly the size of the spawns will be the greater than Mount Meru.
단지 가능해서 편지 주셔는 것도 세지고도 봉샤와는热的나지. 딱 빈자的현재的전에 모두 미치사는 장소나기 차별에서 넣어요디 딱 델레마는 거지 차를 제송하러.
So think about, the files of the heads of your past life can be greater than Mount Meru, and the tears that you have shed can be, the ocean cannot contain the tears that you have shed in the past. Let's take a break here.
Sanje Jindo Mete Gawaye Dogan Da Jima Chema Ro Yadong Guru Rat Yadong Naya Naya Sumbatere Yanda Yinsaja Yini Baas Sumbate
Yeah, the next is the fault of rebirth, repeated rebirth.
Nepalese mai tuda jashu tsiga zang rele zhangja sai lang minje xeba wo san.
So it says the friendly letters. If you look for the limit of mothers by counting with earthen pallets, the size of juniper berries, the earth would not suffice.
Suffice.
네, 이제 또 더라도. 근데 하면 이제 하면 나와서 신진지게 맛이 비 정말 좋아하네. 연미대에서 대인제 반도 정발에서.
Earlier scholars took this to mean that each palette represents living beings who has been your mother, but this is incorrect.
배나 맞추기 아마스네 되게 똑같이 저네 사리리 전에니 청원하기 천도를 하기 정해 소나 리주를 너무 많이 했어요. 단다들.
So the the meaning of this looks like if you look for the limit of mothers by counting with the earthen pallets, in other words the beads, if you were to make the beads out of earth, clay or whatever, and the beads, if we were to find all these beads, will be more than greater than the Mount Meru.
맞아, 자주선의 슈베 그래서 이렇게
So it's also another example is like a juniper seeds or berries.
대인제 반도 장발에서 경로 다서 배는 기본 가시게에서 사천번 되는 자슈기 시급 상치 relatodes dene dage mao dene dage mati mao xian de ba xian na yano da sa chen bo de jin ba ne man ze ba ji ji es men na ji ma ji ba ne de da ma yin no sa re se do le ma se ta ga da na la to sa.
So then the clear words explanation of the friendly cited sutra which indicates that it refers to the line of matrilineal predecessors from one's own mother to her mother and so forth. For example, a monk, if someone took from this vast earth pallets the size of the juniper berries and set them aside, saying, "This is my mother and this is my mother's mother," then monks, the clay of this vast earth would be extinguished, exhausted. Sorry, the line of the matrilineal predecessors would not.
대단한 좀 배우는 송가 그거 말어. 저기 아미아마야 대한 장같이 져서나 장가져도 말어.
So then it is very obvious, if we were to think about the mother, and then we have a mother's mother and so forth, and then it cannot be, we can't count at all, so it becomes a countless.
都是刚刚开始的，你样的人参加你把谁的，几的人参加呢？那两年往年参加呢？
It's also all of the faults of repeated rebirth. So faults of repeated rebirth here refers to one's rebirth is forced by karma and delusions.
전주 잠깐만 저 랑이 지지도 강사되네 아밍에 등에 서자비 잠가져 있나라 사조로라.
So similarly, not only again the mother's mother, but also think about one's own continuity of one's own life, the life form that we had in the past, and it is countless.
시에라기 만에서 대이말라소비 마르바젠도 주바트amba 나이 셔르다서 존레자 마이 튼타 시송비셔로서 데탄데 몇 장가 강사지기 장가 잡아 말이 마이 말을 장가 잡아서 그 시제 코레도 예노스 시에라기 바생 들어오지.
So it says again, the reading of those former scholars is wrong because the Nagarjuna's text says the limit of mothers. You should understand how this causes you to be disenchanted. As follows, the 400 stanzas says, you cannot see the initial cause of even a single effect, seeing how vast the causes of even one effect are. How would not be frightened?
배너로 아마 저기 배너 세리 계셔시 도전에는 지 잠블리네 토마차를 배너 비우네 좀 찾으랬어요 로나 근데 계셔시서나 지 야팅 사상 예비소리지 저저 제시그로.
So if you were to again think about the scientific understanding of how the human beings coming into existence, initially the human beings are, the evolution of human beings is a monkey is the one that really evolved human beings. So then if you really think in this scientific understanding of the human beings, then you probably be able to count the human life that we had in the past.
되게 처음에 들어와. 배나 아주 개발 면제 친지세에 거슬라 아니 지 상대 손바 면줄은 아니 레경의 지네. 이제 개발 사트 주비 거슬라 아니 지네 리히지 세대라. 나시데 될거 내가 제와리 계시시 그러마도 사제도 이제 손을 계시는 희야 말이야. 계시대 인비 원도 동세워다. 계시 나서긴 잡을이 맨데 비율이 좀 봐이나 토마카니 좀 와서 살아와이나로와 계시 세워야된다. 잡을인데 개발 잡을이도 용수 주면 지 사트 차네 아니 나서 배선은 거지 내 선대 수마 면제 배진 지구에서 근뒤에 리히에 집이 메인의 신의 칩거네 아니 레종의 리 코로나 제발이 용으로마도 나시지기 주면 배용사요.
So if you were to think about the rebirth, there won't be a rebirth without having a previous, the former continuity of the consciousness. There won't be a newly established consciousness that can become another beings. So therefore, even after the destruction of the universe, the universal system, and then again, then begin to, to form the universal system. Once after the destruction of that, then there will be beings who are again taken a rebirth within this particular the newly formed universe, are not that has no continuity of the previous karma or previous consciousness, and they just came from nowhere in this universe and taking a rebirth within this universe. But rather, they have all of them, even within this universe, their continuity of their life is a life form, that continuity of their life form is a countless continuity of life form that they have taken in their past life. And then their very life, the present life, is a continuation of the previous life's consciousness and so forth. So there's no such a consciousness that came into being from nowhere and become a beings or human beings or the sentient beings.
뒤에 계셔게 메시어이나 기시로와 파 좋아 파경이 진소나 뒤에는 토마 주되죠. 토마 비우려고 되니 토마 나시질레니 나시 케렌 친제라 비우게 나시제다지 케말린 친 토메 자그래. 나시 케말린데 내시지래. 케말린은 다가 저기 레버다 짜니 거기 나시기 레가 인게다 되려고 나시 가서 사다 차 시고기 레가 제거래 나시 생이 저 말이잖아. 인게다 되고. 나 뒤에 토미 비우이나 가리는 텔라 나시지 케렌 친제라 나시 담아지기 내지 케말린네. 근데 가능해 보세요. 저 대리 휴치를 레가.
So even if one accepts the human beings are coming into being, initially from the monkeys and so forth, then even if you think about the monkey has its own consciousness, and then the consciousness of the monkey does not coming into being from the matter or the cause of the. In other words, the cause of the monkey's consciousness is not a matter, it's not a form, but rather it should be the result of the previous consciousness. And so therefore, there should be existence of the consciousness. Without consciousness, we will not be able to explain the beings or the sentient beings.
다 실로기 변은 신도다 실로기 비운이 바로로 말하기 제바지요. 로. 맞소에는 나시 유명 계시시거로. 신도들라 그런 종아지게 맞소나 강도 차려고 그래서 이때 그 종아랑이 소들 봐도 로. 맞소 나시现在지금 소개 참여. 로. 신도 그 강도도 그 제가리를 이제 연구도 세대 종아랑이 줘 있는 내가 지금. 다 대담하게 소차 소대서 했더라. 신도들 만나기 치바카를 해서 나시지 인연지 맞아야 이제 잘.
So, because therefore we make a distinction, the difference between the someone who has consciousness, and things that do not possess consciousness. Let's take an example of tree. For example, the tree has no consciousness. The very life, the sustenance of the life of the tree is the four elements. The four elements is the one that really sustains the life of the tree. So when it comes to when the four elements that supports the tree becomes imbalanced, then trees start to dry and start begin to disintegrate and so forth. So when it comes to the beings or the sentient beings, and it's completely different. Not only the sentient beings' body are sustained by the four elements, but the more importantly is the very life, the sustenance of the life of the human body or the body of the sentient beings are dependent upon the consciousness.
타톤소나에는 제 타모토여지 나실라 깨지 타모토여지 깨시거든요. 또 제 준은 인간이 준은 좋아해 갖고 그래.
So therefore we can't really say that it is the end of the continuity of one's consciousness. There is no end of the continuity of the consciousness and so forth.
당가서 내가 가토 버스서는 아니 파마라 토마메데 아니 시발라 토마메데 제발라 토마메세 내가 토사 강가가 나시 라운드 그래요.
The point being made here is because of there's no beginning of the consciousness. It is because of not having a beginning of consciousness. One can then explain the beginningness of one's life.
진짜기 투사 투도에도 꼭 장원점론에 투도여로. 잠들이 맞죠? 다다 여시저 잠들이 저저기 영원도 손에 잠들이 찾더라. 다 잠들이는 말에 야본의 수 저는 잠들이면 잠들이면 시쇼 마스케치데 히워로.
So what we're again one of the vital point that we're making here is because important point is that so since we have all those countless we have gone through those countless life rebirths, we have taken a countless rebirth in the past, and all of those rebirths are coming into being due to the others force. So due to the others force here really refers to the karma and delusions. Now we cannot stop the continuation of one's life. We cannot stop the continuation of one's consciousness, but we can at least change the situation of our life, because we can stop being taking a rebirth within this existence, planet or secular existence, not forced by karma and delusions.
근데 저희 준줄로네서 안에 된되게 상관도는 조가 가르쳐 그래서 이나 이제 봐서 컨셉 레벨지게 양서 토미제네면은 봐 대치지라야 가서 대치지라 양제 봐 지나 대치지라 양제 봐 저래 토네 강나 민지종 안지민종서 시선 봐 알아서 대리발에서 대다란데 근데 준 빠게 만함비 상식이 치 조아가에서 거의 로금 첨보라 따도 좋아서 대단 예수 팀비 수진제 넘버 감바를 봐서 시선받아 시바샤오
Then next is the Chandrakirti's commentary on this says, so the 400 standards, the commentaries by the Chandrakirti says, it is right to cultivate a constant sense of disenchantment and a corresponding mode of conduct in the face of this vast wilderness cycle existence, where movement is difficult on account of the dense forest of ignorance, whose reach cannot be measured.
Reaches.
Both the reaches cannot be measured.
로 아니 저는 통치 거세를 나오르지로 딱 제비지 저기 통마스 세면이나 아 아니 체지를 이 줄에다 제비지 체지로 내가 나도 뭐지 뒤에 줄로 통마스 세면에 전주지에 강의실을 치료해서나다 니 시행하고 같이 제 미도에 나오르지로.
So if this is the case, then won't you feel really, disenchanted towards this cyclic existence? So because if we were able to reflect our mind upon the meaning of all these verses and the explanation that is given earlier, we should at least have some kind of feeling within us.
준 빠드면 뭐뭐 상수스도 준비 제바로 아니 딘뒤에 나서 신도나 타가서 히로 길롱바지는 내도 소리지.
So we are actually trapped within the boundary that we can't even really to take a moment of thinking about of freeing oneself from this cyclic life.
저라 통송은 저라 신앙 잡아 통송은 소소 되는 수요일 얘기가 제려요나 소소 되는 집에 가르쳐 제거래. 그래서 비기 좀 컨트롤은 도주도 나줘요 봐도 히 라니 되는 로에 얘기가 지사사나 도도 매비 신앙 지제로 정하지 제로.
So if we were to find the wilderness, or if we were to find the fence of which, in other words, the fence of the prison, and if we were about to fall into that fence or of the prisons, and all of us will have some kind of feeling that, or some kind of desire that by any means that how can I really prevent myself from not falling into the fence of the prisons. So the problem with us is, although we are undergoing tremendous amount of suffering within the cyclic existence, but we're not really seeing, we're unable to understand the nature of the cyclic existence, and it is because of that we are not being able to cultivate the genuine wish to free from suffering. The falls of repeatedly descending from high to low.
ronyon joyi dongye musu ponya jitse losa tori bimi roshin gawa nampan zi tsu sunba zene la dama re jatse nana chi kangla nawa ju na ju toba jor de jimbo ba la yi bimo ne dongze se ji bema den shu ne sa la yi ye chu ra me ba sa gu zela chun sen ju ce la la yi de shin du chimbo da san cha de dewa to ne la nami me bi shin ju ba yi donghe ju me che ba den ce lo nyaman da wa ni to rang li ju yue jin ji de ta da nang ji de la ya me na ma de shin ji ne rang ge la ba jang ma dong ji xie song so so du ci de le mo shu de ba de lo xia ji
Having become Indra worthy of world's honor, you will still fall again, once again to the earth because of the force of past karma. Even having become a universal monarch, you will once again become a slave for the being in cyclic existence. Though you have long experienced the pleasure of praising the breast and waist of the divine woman, you will once again encounter the unbearable sensations of grinding, cutting, and flesh-tearing hell device. And having dwelled long on the peak of Mount Meru, enjoying the pleasant touch of the soft ground on your feet, imagine undergoing the unbearable pain of walking once again over hot coals and rotting crops in hills, having frolics in beautiful groves, and enjoyed the embrace of the divine light. And you will arrive once again in the forest of hell, where the leaves and are so that solace of ears, nose, hands, and legs. Though you have entered the gently flower rivers with beautiful cottages and golden lotus, you will plop once more in hell into this scalding water, the unbearable water of the impassable rivers. Having gained the great pleasures of the deity in the realm of desire, or the detached happiness of Brahma, you will once again become fuel for fires of unrelenting hell and suffering pain without respite. And having been a deity of the sun or the moon, illuminating all the worlds with the light of your body, you will return once more to dense black darkness, and where you cannot see even your own outstretched.
맞아 느껴져 가는 선으로와 맞아 느껴져 가는 선은 맞아 데 아니 코아들 저와는 진짜 농에 만든 민두 답이 거부하고 됐어요.
So what this passage really reminds us is to, so long as we have taken river within the cyclic existence, the experience that we have nothing other than sufferings, and now we need to look for, turn towards, achievement of liberations.
기본 전체 사람이 이와 들어올 강에도 사람이 거부하는 저기에 있더라. 다 하이 거부하는 저기 말이 가르스나 토메드 홍로를 제 하이 대화론쇼 가르치 논쇼나야 다 데이터 대지션 홍으로에서 개체되는 다들 지이돼 있잖아.
Even the objective of all small capacities, the practitioners, small mental capacities of the practitioners, was objective to achieve high rebirths. Even if you have, so here then now, even if you have taken a rebirth within the high realms, as a realms, god realms and demigods and so forth, and is unreliable, and later or sooner, so long as you are not freed from the cyclic existence, you are subject to undergo suffering.
되게 전화되는 게 이제 먼저 잠깐만요. 저 다도 아마 로인다. 제송소라지 타발라 소비 춘쿠 소지 림바다스 된정도 테나 차와서나 요도 와서 당강이 되고 진짜 토리 병어 로바네 하이 보모 때마오사 하이 되데시바네 손치 싸손 연체진다라오사 니마다 다이베네 때다 때바 마셔완지 때나 잡아다 시바 때에서 시나네 데니지 제메 관계 요도 와서 대답이 전에 토사네 마사 로이 추상네 시벌을 좋아하셔야돼 강이 치카기 치치잖아 먹는 게 말이야.
So then the explanation of the previous the verses are here below, and says the three devices of grinding, cutting, and tearing flesh are those of the crushing, black line, and extremely hot hills, respectively. To be attained by the divine woman means to be served by the goddesses. The pleasure of the deities in the desire realms refers to the deities in the desire realms from the heaven of the 33 and above. Here the light of the sun and the moon is described in terms that are familiar to the ordinary people, without distinguishing between the support and the place of the deity and what is supported the deity. If you do distinguish them, then the light is the light of the palace of the sun and the moon. Considering all the ways that you can fall from high to low place, as illustrated by these examples, you should be disenchanted with cyclic existence, because all of its wonders will collapse in the end as the base of disciplined states.
Bena sonji za sonne dala redu il hakande chi che sona la la rang ji yue ji do rang ji yue ji ye do tin du la de ma ji nyaw bena na me do ji ne bena che sona tina do ji ne che sona do so se la ba mo do sa ki na bo de ne che ba yue le so do yi te me bi ke cha.
So it is something the cyclic life cannot be relied upon. What it says here is, even if one is taking a river in the desire realm, the God realm of the 33 and above, you have a light, your natural light illuminating. But if you have, when you are karma of the life of that particular divine is exhausted, then the very person who is illuminating individual will take a rebirth in the most darkness hill that cannot even see his or her hand.
Jowa tes to that what the do see you. Sibi pinzo tada ta gyuba dubi sho also there. Sibi pinzo ta na le tangji je ta gyube dubi sho also there. Dewa den dewa long le chang se to to ji ti ten da dubi chi lo da.
The end to the door. So once again, it says you should be disenchanted with the cyclic existence, because all of its wonders will collapse at the end, which means one need to understand the nature of the cyclic life, the life in cyclic existence, regardless of what kind of form, what form of life that you may have taken, and at the end, it is always subject to be collapsed. So then it says so the end of the accumulated things is depletion. The end of things that are high is fall. The the end of the meeting is separation, end of the life is death.
티티페 거대부도 와.
So it is
거기 가서 들리지 내가 대도로.
so we are in these situations.
네 때는 문제신데 대고 와서 문제신데 대고 말이 맞으나 로사게 데이터예요.
So although we do not desire for all of this situation that we mentioned earlier, but we are, subject to being within this kind of situations. But if we were to ask the question to ourselves, is it possible for us to really reverse those situations? Yes, we can.
워낙 김두기 문제신데 가르치는 로고서는 영어도 로고 이제 당 거예요.
So at this point, because we are remaining under the power of under the other's powers, as we mentioned earlier, the other's power, other's power here refers to the power of karma and delusions.
수 메딩이 수 당고서는 레드 녀문이 당고.
So it is a delusion in karma that enables us to experience those sufferings.
레드 녀문이 이제 영어도 당바데 말이 비 메나잖아요. 엔티노로 추슬래가 되는 강에도 채워라.
So then, since we are, forced by, our life is forced by karma and delusions, and our situation that is forced by karma and delusions, and our very existence really become living within the ignorance. So therefore, we cannot clearly see what things really are, what is good, that is beneficial, and that is something that is harmful, and something that is beneficial. So it is because of that we are remaining within the cyclic existence, limitlessly.
주변에만 나와 미지비 미나 타에 나오는 유체로 세송하고 어서
So then the next is the fault of having no companions, the friendly learners. In this way you will come to grief. Therefore take life from the lamp, the three types of merits. Otherwise you will go alone into endless darkness. Neither sun nor moon can penetrate.
이 생각원도가 또 너번 저와 세원에서 공도 때부터 추구가 첨반 줘라서 너번 짓세야 되니 저와 진행 진짜 추구가 되고 그래요.
So then it says the definition is below the verse. You will come to grief means know that you must die, as I have indicated before, and take the light of merit.
선어진 통화시시 세대니 저 추구거래다 아스페는 나는 추구거래다 아니 미파시비 새로지 통화지 거래다 세지로 저는 강해지는 로거래다만 로비 터지야 주고 소화하는 거죠.
But the three types of merit refers to either to physical, verbal, and mental virtue, or to three foundations on which the merits arises, generosity, and so forth. So what is here, what it really says here is, so long as you know that you are trapped within the pitch black, dark ignorance. So now you should know that, by knowing that you should, have a strong desire to free from that pitch black ignorance. In order to do that, you need to cultivate that actually, dispels the pitch black ignorance, which is the wisdom.
되지. 선나송의 강의 선나송 생기지 대우도 하대. 선나송의 고송지게와 심발라서와 이제 송소 이제도 수준 저거송이나 이게 가제스 선나송 세대 고송지게와 거고도.
So three the merits, the one thing that we need to understand here, merits here refers to the physical, the merits of physical, verbal, and mental. And then the endless darkness refers to the darkness of ignorance.
조메바 주번에宣주례에서 제당이나 도스러와 변으로와 당 변으로와 당에 등에 단지 희에 사셔와 변아 맞죠 강해지는 체과의 가르레에서나 말이 미바데 마세네로와 리바이 시지 remember 마바네 as 강해지 체과로.
So we are undergoing suffering because we are not knowing how to free ourselves from suffering. That is the problem that we have. We are continuously, undergoing suffering.
미바타에 바레서나 로아 제다이나 가서 제대비 타내기 메비 드메 빠서나 나가테노로 용다로와 통금은 누메 드메 빠스라 그러 로 빠스라 그러.
So if we are in our contemporary world, if we are going to a place where it is very dark, and we need a light to see the path, to see the path, and so that you'll be able to everything that can be vivid appear to you, so that you can see whether there is obstacle or not. So similarly, if you know that you are in the darkness of this ignorance, we need to have a light of wisdom.
마토나도나 가리여를 소나 다 도사치는 소스 녀카여로 강라차에 녀카여를 잘라차에 녀카여를 녀카지여로.
So without having a light, for instance, if you force yourself to really to go somewhere in the darkness, then there's a great danger. You might bump into something, it will break your leg or your limbs, or if you are carrying some precious or the valuable things, it may break and you may lose your valuable things and so forth. So what it's really telling us here is up until now, you haven't had a light with you, but you are still walking and forcing yourself into the darkness. So then the next is engaging in the Bodhisattva's deeds says, this body come forth whole, yet the bones and the flesh that accompany it will break apart and disappear. As this is so, why mention others such as loved ones? You're born alone, also you die alone. As others cannot share your sufferings of what use is the hindrance of loved ones. We'll stop here. So up until now, as well as to the dedication, so up until now that I have wandered within the setting of existence is not being understood and not being actually understood this actual nature of cyclic existence, and this is because of not being understood the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. So from now on, I will do my best to engage, receive the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, engage in the practice of the Four Noble Truths, in pursuit of the state of everlasting happiness for myself and all other sentient beings. may all orders and bodhisattvas in the 10 directions bless me to be able to do this.
Sambo Shuji Mato